The morning started with a sound that could wake the Diada, grinding, shrieking drill, tearing into the earth like it had a personal grudge. It was 8:03 a.m. on a Saturday, not a weekday, not during any reasonable hour, just pure chaos erupting in my side yard. I stood frozen at the kitchen window, a piece of toast dangling in my hand, watching two guys in bright orange vests set up a post hole digger 2 feet into my saw lawn. My lawn. Then, like some kind of suburban apocalypse, water shot 6 feet into the air, a geyser drenching the crew, their equipment, and glorious lithier truck. The ground itself seemed to be fighting back. My husband, Mark, shuffled in, still half asleep in a bathrobe that belonged in a museum. He glanced outside, then at me. "Did we order a fountain?" he mumbled. It wasn't funny. Not yet. The men outside were yelling now, one slipping in the mud like a cartoon VY lane, but their panic grew sharper as water poured into their truck's open cab. This wasn't just a mess, it was a disaster. I slid open the back door and stepped out. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded. One of the guys, soaked and annoyed, snapped back, "Ma'am, this is HOA business. They said this is common ground. Fence extension." I blinked. "No one told me anything, and you're on my saw property." He pulled out a soggy map, squinting. "According to this, you're wrong." That's when it started, what Mark later called the Great Fence War of Meadow VYEW. But right then, standing barefoot in wet grass, I just felt fury. 10 minutes later, Greg, the HOA president, rolled up in his shiny hybrid, clipboard in hand, wearing the smug grin of a man who'd never been wrong in his life. "Sarah, good morning," he chirped, like we were chatting over coffee. "This was approved at the last meeting. All above board." I stared. "You approved fencing my saw yard without telling me?" He fumbled with a plastic folder that looked suspiciously empty. "The board voted on new boundary lines. It's legal." Behind him, the geyser sputtered out, Leah VY-ing a lake that had half submerged the contractor's truck. I snapped 4 photos. I'd need them. Mark joined me, coffee in hand, eyeing the wreckage. "Do we get a discount on HOA dues for hosting their shipwreck?" Greg ignored him. "This is communal space now. The HOA has jurisdiction." I snapped. "You mean for flooding my yard and trespassing?" He adjusted his glasses. "Transparency requires participation, Sarah." That line almost broke me. Transparency? This man had just drowned my roses and tried to gaslight me with a fake map. Mark, bless him, was already filming everything on his phony, a trick we'd learned early in our marriage. When nonsense escalates, document it, because no one believes the absurdity without proof. The contractors were shouting again. Their tools were floating, and their truck let out a pathetic gurgle when they tried to start it. The air smelled like wet dirt and lies. That afternoon, I went to Warnot with a shovel, but with my laptop. I dug into county records, pulling up our deed, boundary maps, everything. Nothing matched Greg's claims. Our yard, our fence, our sprinkler system now, an accidental river were all ours. Over lunch, my neighbor Lisa slid into the cafe booth across from me, eyes darting like she was in a spy, MOVY. "They've been doing this all month," she whispered. MOVYing fences, claiming land that isn't theirs. Most people don't check. I leaned in. "How do you know?" She slid a USB drive across the table. I recorded Greg bragging about it. He's using the budget for upgrades to secure votes. Now, I had motive, a whistleblower, and a truck-shaped pool in my yard. But I needed proof their documents were fake. That night, a notice appeared on our door. Saw violation. Unauthorized obstruction of HOA project. Penalty pending. Saw was printed in Comic Sans, which somehow made it worse. Mark peeled it off, gesturing at the submerged truck. "This count as obstruction?" I didn't answer. I was staring at the lone fence post they'd managed to plant before the flood, crooked and mocking in the mud. The next morning, a city utilities worker showed up, apologetic as he surveyed the mess. "They hit a 3-inch main," he said. "You'll see a spike in your water bill." My jaw clenched. "So we're paying for water we didn't use because of a crew we didn't hire on land that's ours." He nodded. "Pretty much." That lit a fire in me. I dove deeper into the county assessor's portal, matching parcel IDs to satellite imagery. The HOA's claim about communal space was a lie. Our lot was ours. No ordinance, no adjustment, nothing. I built a folder labeled Saw Fence Gate, Saw Screenshots, Photos, Lisa's Audio. That ridiculous notice. This wasn't just a dispute. It was a cover-up. Lisa came over, nervous, pulling my curtains shut. Greg's calling emergency meetings. He thinks you're suing. I sat back. Not yet, but I'm challenging them. She lowered her voice. He's bribing people with fences and upgrades to secure his re-election. It's all HOA funds. I shook my head. What happens when the budget runs dry? Lisa smirked. He's padding next year's budget with legal defense funds, betting no one will fight back. That was it. I wasn't just stopping them. I was tearing their little empire apart. Then came the invoice. Dula 217.43 for excessive water usage due to resident interference. Mark, painting in the garage, looked up. They billing the lake for being wet too? I filed a complaint with the city's Department of Building and Safety, attaching every shred of EVY Denke. I copied Lisa, our city council rep, and 3 local journalists. One replied within an hour. This might be nothing, but it sounds like something. Mark, meanwhile, went rogue, creating hand-drawn flyers of the HOA's truck as a sinking ship. Captioned, "Saw drowning in dues? Ask where the money goes." So he posted them everywhere: bulletin boards, mailboxes, the yoga studio. By morning, the neighborhood's Facebook group was ablaze. People shared stories, misplaced fences, unexplained dues hikes, and sign notices. A petition, Saw Stop the Meadow VYEWHOA Power Trip Saw, popped up on change.org. The final straw came when I saw a fence crew at Judy's house, a quiet retiree 2 doors down. "Did you approve this?" I asked. She frowned. Greg said it was a free upgrade for long-term residents. Another bribe. I updated Saw Fencegate Saw. It now had 42 files. I wasn't just fighting for my yard anymore, I was fighting for the whole damn neighborhood. Greg's smug smile, his untouchable attitude, had to go. I decided to run for the HOA board, not just to win, but to expose every crooked post. By Monday, Meadow VYEW was a battleground. Lawn signs sprouted. Saw accountability for Meadow VYEW Saw versus Saw re-elect Greg Saw in stiff Helvetica. One read Saw Sarah for Queen Saw with a goofy crown marks work. I filed my candidacy, attaching a notarized map Greg had signed 2 years ago, plus a list of bylaws he'd broken. I wanted the city clerk to see the rot. Greg retaliated with a notice claiming I was under investigation by a community integrity subcommittee. I confronted the secretary, Diane, at her mailbox. She wouldn't look at me, muttering about order. She seemed like someone who didn't realize the ship was sinking. Mark became a local legend. His HOA-themed art paintings like Saw Wall of Lies Saw, a crumbling fence held by bylaws, tape-going VY Rel. A retired detective, Bill, tipped the city auditor to financial irregularities in the HOA's books. The audit uncovered Dula 8,000 in unexplained expenses, no receipts, no votes. Bill grinned. $8,000 buys a lot of fences, but it raises questions. At the next HOA meeting, Greg tried to spin it, showing doctored photos of me yelling at the crew. "This is harassment," he sneered. I stood, holding the notarized map, the city's Dula 2,000 water bill, and the auditor's letter demanding financial records. "Here's your signature, Greg, acknowledging our property line. Here's the bill for your crew's mistake. And here's the auditor's request. They want answers by next week, or it's a formal investigation." The room went silent. Greg sputtered, but a board member whispered something that turned him red. Murmurs erupted. Mark, in and saw HOA No Way Saw t-shirt, smirked from the back. Bill stood. Phony subcommittee, fake signatures, unlicensed crew drowning their truck woes, harassing who? A motion to suspend Greg passed 4-1. Diane abstained. Outside, neighbors hugged me, handed me cookies. Mark gave me a bouquet of roses and weeds shaped like a fence post. "You did it," he said. I shook my head. Not yet. The next meeting was a circus standing room only, someone eating popcorn. The auditor's report, read by the interim president, a nervous dentist named Carl, detailed Dula 9,000 in undocumented expenses duplicate billing, and gross negligence. Greg stood, hands raised like a preacher. This is a distraction. Property values are up. Bill shot back. This wasn't malice, Greg. It was stupid. Laughter broke the tension. I clicked a remote, and Lisa projected a photo of Greg with the crew, predating his emergency vote. Then, Maggie's recording of him bragging about vote buying. Finally, a contract with a fake signature. Saw KB HOA President Saw in childish caps. The room buzzed with fury. The vote to remove Greg was unanimous. Diane slipped out quietly. I took the president's chair a week later, passing motions for a 5-year audit, a real integrity committee, and free property line checks. Lisa cried. Mark uploaded a VY Deo. Saw fences mended. Truth restored. Welcome to Meadow VY EW 2.0. Saw a board member handed me a developer's note from 15 years ago, warning about water mains. Greg had ignored it. The flood, the chowsit could have been avoided. A month later, Meadow VYEW felt alive again. Neighbors shared coffee, kids pulled carrots from our new community garden, dubbed Saw the Aquifer Saw. The city praised our reforms, asking me to consult on a pilot program. Mark and I sat on our porch, watching fireflies, planning a low picket fence with an open gate. No more surprises, right? He whispered. I smirked. Don't tempt the HOA gods. We laughed, the kind you earn. But here's where it gets messy. What would Saw do if your HOA tried to steal your land? Was I right to fight, or should I let it go? Could Greg have been a VY Tim of his own mistakes, or was he a calculated crook? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if your team saw Fencegate Saw, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back. Let's keep this rebellion rolling, Watts, your HOA horror story.